Does that make me crazy? Possibly. I hope that you're having the time of your life. Think twice. That's my only advice. Oh, who do you think you are? Oh, bless your soul. You think you're in control. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes had it hard, losing lives out on the land. And all I remember is thinking I want to be like them. Oh, yay! Ever since I was little, it looked like fun. And it's not coincidence I've come. And I could die when I'm done. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy.
Love that song. Guys, how are you? I know I said, what did I say? Did I say 8:20 or 8:15 or 8:25? I lose track of the time, and I'm embarrassed to say that, and I shouldn't do that. There's nothing more irritating than saying to your audience that you're going to be on at a certain time, and then you're not on at that time because people get antsy. People start taking for granted that you're never on time. And this is something I don't ever want to give off. That's not the vibe I want to convey to you. I want to be able to say, if I'm going to be on at 8:15, by goodness, it better be 8:15. But, life happens sometimes, and you just got to roll with the punches. Remember, this is Simoson, where nothing works, okay? Nothing is ever the way it's supposed to be, because by virtue of the fact that we live and work in a crazy world. I mean, what am I going to tell you? It's a discombobulated world. It's a flawed, fickle world is what it is. Okay, this ain't Man to Hill. Okay, this is not arcades where everybody says, yes, please, yes, ma'am, excuse me, hello, how are you? No, this is Simoson, where we say, barayo wa peregaguti. Iwe, utsachanyapo. Ingecho fuere iwe. Wira pepa fuaka. Cachazo leka luchero chero. That's the world we live in. And I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to admit to you that this is what I go through every single solitary day. I'm embarrassed. Okay. I needed to get that off of my chest. You have no idea how therapeutic it is for me to come on here and share things like that with you. When this camera turns off, trust me, I'm a much better person after having shared that with you. Okay. All righty. A few shout outs to you guys before we begin, because I love it. I love it when I do that. Peace be with you, Sonny. Thank you. I'm assuming you're much older than I am. Okay. Loud and clear. I'm glad to hear that. By the way, for those of you that are interested, I'm using this streaming service. It's called StreamYard. I've been using it for a couple of years, and I love it. It works for me and what I do. There's another one somebody was telling me about. I forget what it's called, but StreamYard is brilliant. This is a paid version of StreamYard. They've got a free version and a paid version. They recently added a new feature on StreamYard. It's an augmented feature. It augments your looks. Do you know what it means to augment? Ever heard of that word, to augment? You know, to brush you up. When there's a feature on there, there's a button on there. When you press that button, you look better than what you did before you pressed it. Now, here's the strange thing. I've pressed this button, and I can see there's not a single solitary difference. I look just as crazy as I did before I pressed the button. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. For those of you StreamYard fans, for those of you that love live streaming and you're interested in this sort of thing, StreamYard has just added a brand new feature, and it augments your looks. And I'm using it now. If you can't tell the difference, it's me, it's not them. Okay, just know that, because I know some of you are going to sit there. Well, I don't see the difference. That's because it's me. Okay, StreamYard are perfect. Here's the issue. Thought I'd share that with you. Okay, all right, let's get into it. Say hello to you guys. Good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Somebody says say hello to Gift. I was just talking to her just a moment ago downstairs. Guys, let's get into this. Indeed. Crazy world indeed. Let's get into this. Many of you know that yesterday, President Hakainde Hichilema toured Kanyama compound. Now, Kanyama is basically a stone throw away from Simoson City Market. I mean, literally, I could spit, and my spittle would literally land on Kanyama turf. I mean, that's how close in proximity we are. It's just up the road here. And he said he was talking to the crowd, and I want to pick up on something that he said, and I want to highlight this because I think it's important for us to have this discussion. The president pointed out, he said that, he sort of sounded a clarion call, a warning to the PF thugs. But here's my take on this. Having experienced hooliganism from a wide spectrum of political parties, I mean, I've seen them come and go. As I keep telling you, and I know you tire, I know that you are weary, I know that you are exhausted when you hear me say that I've been in this spot for 33 years. We first came here in 1986, before any of this craziness was here. We came here when it was not en vogue to be here. We came here, Simoson came here when this part of town was considered the outskirts of town. I'm giving you history now, okay? 50 years from now, somebody's going to watch this thing and they're going to say, wow, I didn't know that about that area. Yes, we came here in 1986 when it was not en vogue to be here, okay? There was nothing here, basically. And I'm saying that to say I've been through the gamut, okay? I've been through a spectrum of administrations and hooligans, and I've seen it all, okay? Now, when the president said what he said, this is what resonated with me. Yes, there are PF thugs, but let's also be clear. There are thugs that take advantage and they claim they align themselves with any administration that is current. That's very important. I want that to sink in for a moment. I want that to sizzle in your spirit. I need that to marinate in your cerebellum. There are thugs, criminals, hooligans that deliberately align themselves with any administration that is current, and they do it for self-aggrandizement. I'll give you a very, very good example. You see, anytime you're dealing with hooligans, you're really talking about kadas. And anytime you're talking about kadas, the main central focus of kadas is turf, land. Turf, land. during the NPF, the Notorious Patriotic Front. It still happens today. Okay, it still happens today, albeit at a much lower level, but it happens nonetheless. One of the big pushes that the NPF, the Notorious Patriotic Front cadres used to do, or used to say, was that any piece of land that belonged to council, the cadres had access to that land first. Therefore, they used their unscrupulous positions as cadres to take advantage of land that didn't belong to them. A prime example is just a few days ago along Lumumba Road, a very important stretch of road. And I will never stop talking about this because this is a very important lesson. Cadres working in collaboration with councilmen, people that call themselves party officials, Chairman Pita, and I'm going to name them, okay? Because I've gotten to, you get to a stage in your life where you don't care. You don't. You get to a stage in your life when you say, you know what, I've been battling and hassling with this thing for so long. I'm going to take the gloves off. I'm going to name names, okay? Because we're living in a dispensation where these complaints can genuinely be dealt with and heard. During the NPF, you could talk until your face turned blue. One of the things that used to annoy me about Davis Mwila, and I'll say this to you, Davis Mwila was the Secretary General of the PF, the NPF. And in those days, anytime PF cadres would give us hell, I mean, we would catch hell over here. If it wasn't one thing, it was another. And so I would always be compelled, because this was the only last line of defense that I felt that I had. I would always be compelled to go see Davis Mwila at the Secretariat and complain. But this is one of the things that used to annoy me about Davis Mwila. Whenever I would tell him the story or what happened, he would get on the phone and he would be furious. Imwe, ngefyo nde mfati mchusha mwewa. Why mchusha? Fumeni koko. Edo ngana msanga mwana chimona. Hang up the phone, look at me and say, Mwewa, don't worry about it. Sort it out. I would leave his office, come back here. The NPF cadres would say, na tumfati ba Davis Mwila wachibatumi na phone. Tature fuma popa no tature ya. Batumine na footing le fwaya. Koim. It just used to annoy the heck out of me, because you didn't know whether you were coming or going. You didn't know if you were up or down. You didn't know if you were left or right. Everything they would say was different from what they were doing. And it just drove me nuts. Now, here it is. What's happening in this dispensation is that you've got a clique of, for example, and now keep in mind, every area has these scoundrels. It doesn't matter where you go in the country or the city. There's a clique of people that feel that this area, City Market, Simoson, Simon Mwera Lane, Lumumba Road, Kanyama, BH, there's a clique of crooks who feel this is their area. When you go to Avondale, there's a group of people in Avondale that feel this is their area. They have the right to any piece of land in that area. You go Kumatero, you'll find them everywhere. These satellite groups that operate independently of the council. They don't operate within the circumference of the council. In their minds, they do this because they feel they have the right to do this. Because in their minds, they are aligned with the current administration. I keep mentioning, and I need you to keep these names in your ear and your mind. For example, this area here, there's a group led by Peter. There's a kada, UPND kada by the name of Peter. If you remember the video where they were destroying those shacks, and there's this guy that came over and standing, talking, and I said to Honorable Garen Combo, I said, watch this guy. This is Peter. Those boys are dangerous. Those boys are dangerous because Peter's boys, namely Oga, Austin, Michelo, dangerous people. I mean, for example, Oga is the young brother, biological brother of Innocent Kalimanshi. He's the younger brother. And you know, as they say, birds of a feather flock together. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So Innocent Kalimanshi's antics, his way of life when he was in the PF, rubbed off on his young brother, who now turns around and says he's UPND. Oga is one of the most dangerous criminals in this area, but he aligns himself with the current administration. And in his mind, he is fully convinced that he is protected by virtue of the fact of being aligned with the current administration. One of the things I complained about, remember when I did the video where many of you were making fun of me for crying, but you know, I keep telling you, crying is a human experience. Crying is part of the human experience. When you were first born, the first thing you did was you cried. When you're happy, you cry. When you're sad, you cry. When you're elated, sometimes you're caught in an ecstasy of joy. You cry. But in Zambia, and yet you cry. You show me a man that doesn't cry, then I'll show you a man that's not a person. Boom. So everybody cries. So anyway, in that video, what had brought me to that point was that, you know, I had gone to the alley because my staff here at Simoson, they came to my office and they said, look, the Katas are really, they're telling us we can't take our garbage back there. We have to look for somewhere else. What do we do? So I went back there to talk to these guys to say, look, this alleyway is for this. Oga, the young brother to Innocent Kalimanshi, walked up to me and said, Mwewa, if you keep talking, we're going to gouge your eyes out and cut off your tongue. You just talk too much, he says to me. And we're going to cut out your tongue so that you stop seeing, you stop coming to this place, you stop coming to work. We cut out your tongue so that you stop talking. Now remember, this is a criminal that is saying this to me on my property. Okay, I want you to get this. I want to hone in on this because I really want to drive a point home. This Oga threatened me, threatened to gouge my eyes out so that I don't see, I'm not able to see, so that I stop coming to my place of business. And remember, this is private property. This does not belong to the government. This Simoson doesn't belong to the government. It's private property. And then Oga says, I'm going to cut out your tongue so that you stop talking because you talk too much. The whole time he was saying that, he was standing on my turf. I want you to think about that for a moment. The audacity, the unmitigated gall of these hooligans. And this is indicative of Kadarism. Kadarism does that. Kadarism will burst into your property and they will threaten you on your ground, on your turf, and try to make you feel like you are a second-class citizen on a property that you own, that belongs to you. Are you listening to the foolishness of these hooligans? When Oga said that to me, I looked at him and I said, this is not government property. Do whatever the hell you want. This is private property. How dare you speak to me like a junkyard dog? Then he calls his boys, Austin and Austin. Austin is the lieutenant to Oga. Criminals, people that have assaulted people. There was a young boy that was assaulted 3 years ago by the same guy, Austin. Almost literally took out his eye. Nothing ever happened to that Austin. Never, nothing. To this day, we reported that issue. I reported that matter to the police. When Oga came here with his National Youth Chair lady, whatever the hell her name is, Veronica, she came here. I posted the video where she's in my property and she's threatening me on my property. You can call whoever you want. I don't care. The audacity, the unmitigated gall of these hooligans. And so here it is. My response, and this is, I've deliberately said, because the headline says HH warns PF hooligans, but it's more accurate to say HH warns hooligans generically, because they're hooligans in the NPF, they're hooligans in the UPND. And this clarion call, this warning, this call to push against this hooliganism has to be meted out across the board. Across the board. Now, one of the things that I used to say, and many of you seem to accuse me of saying something other than what I actually said. I have never said in the UPND, in this new administration, I have never one time said there is no cadarism. I've never said that. What I've said is the cadarism we're experiencing now is nowhere near the cadarism we used to experience in the NPF. Nowhere near. I mean, if you have enough people complaining about something, something will be done. In the NPF, even if you complained, nothing was ever done. Nothing. Nothing was ever done. So now we are being foolish and we are burying our heads in the sand in the way that an ostrich does when we attempt to ignore the hooliganism that exists in this current administration, because they're there. I've given you their names. Peter, Chairperson Katushi, and you know, this is the thing, they give them they give themselves these titles. I'm the chairman of the Chakuti. I'm the chairman of, and then they walk into my office like they own stuff when they really own nothing. And this is what I find so insulting, is that you've got these so-called chair people, one bedroom little house, toilet yabapanse, and yet he's the one that calls the shots in the CBD. And he's the one that says, okay, when you've got nothing. I said this to one of the cadres. I said, you have nothing. So you don't have any right to speak. You're not a member of this business community. You're not a stakeholder. And guys, I said it before and I'll say it again. And this is my message to government officials. Anytime you're dealing with the CBD, don't consult cadres. Consult stakeholders, people that own businesses within a community. If you want to change something in a community, speak to the stakeholders. That's what you do. Don't talk to cadres. What does a cadre have? What can a cadre do? If a cadre wants to make money, go out there like the rest of us and hustle and do it legitimately. Don't ride on the back of an illegality and say it's empowerment. I mean, the guys that erected those shops that were destroyed, they went away with more than 150,000 kwacha from people who believed in them, people that used their positions. And I must tell you, councilmen were fully aware of that arrangement. They were aware. Money exchanged, how do you say it? Money exchanged hands, yes. fully aware. But it's because when people complain, when the right people complain, and the complaint falls upon the ears of the right people, action is taken. But here's the thing, guys. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has the luxury of having a platform where when you complain, you're heard. There are countless stories in the CBD, in Lusaka, indeed, the country, where people complain legitimately, nothing's done. Because why? Because these guys take advantage of the fact that they call themselves kadas aligned with the current administration, and they ride on the wave of illegality to achieve a self-aggrandized goal. That's what it is. Boom. We need to change that. So, Mr. President, while I appreciate the fact that you are pushing against hooliganism, your push should be against hooliganism in general, not just hooliganism in the PF. Yes, we know the PF, there were hooligans. But even now, the word of God says one leaven leaveneth the whole lump. Even now, you've got a remnant. Even now, you've got an element of hooliganism that exists. And I tell you, it's just waiting to burst out. It's just waiting to liberate itself. I mean, you're doing everything you can, and I appreciate you, and I love you for that. You're doing everything you can to hold the lid on hooliganism. You're doing everything you can to suppress the lid on hooliganism, but you can't do it by yourself. You need everybody on board. The message at the top should trickle down all the way to the bottom, and everybody down here should say the same thing that the top is saying in order for this to be successful. The fight against Qatarism, lawlessness, hooliganism will only be achieved if everybody echoes the leader's clarion call. HH cannot do it by himself. HH cannot, in a sense, govern by decree. The message has to resonate. It has to be embraced by all of his lieutenants. And then headway can be made. Are you hearing that? All righty. I thought I'd share that with you. I've spoken enough. 27 minutes. My goodness, that's a long time. This is a good comment here. I wanted to read this. Business owners or building owners, you need to come together and take charge of your territory. Do you even know your neighbors? Very true. Correct. Correct. We need to take charge of the frontages of our buildings, things that are happening within the area. Because in the PF, they used to say, no, imaro niatu. Building niyako, but everything in front is ours. Nonsense. All righty. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless. Have a great day. Bye.